Yo, it's Mac from the Everyday Nobody's podcast. I know you see the title, so let's get straight to it. Whoo! Joe Budden let Kevin Hart have it on episode 693 of the new pod. So basically, the gang is talking about how Dave Chappelle got on stage and chastised Cat Williams, and he was arguing with D. Davis about how inappropriate it was for Cat Williams to be talking about all the black comics in their community and how it really didn't help to bring anybody together. It was more divisive than anything. Basically, what Joe was trying to get across is that it feels a little advantageous that Dave Chappelle would choose this time to criticize Cat Williams, because you got to remember, Dave just dropped a Netflix special on New Year's Eve. And then that Cat Williams interview dropped. It did 50 million views. It dropped a few days after the new year. So because we never hear Dave speak about these type of issues, it just seemed a little advantageous for him to speak about it now, because if we're going to be honest, that special was a flop. That shit Dave Chappelle did, it wasn't really good, and it was kind of beating a dead horse at this point. Like, he's talked about this community, and he's kind of still hinting at the same jokes. Like, he damn near needs to make America wait again, because the jokes just ain't hitting, because you've done the same thing for the last 4 specials. Joe would say, yeah, there is validity in what Dave's saying, but Dave is usually the type to make everybody wait until his next special comes out, and then he reveals how he actually feels. So for him to do that now, it was just a little, you just kind of look at it sideways a little bit. So basically, Joe goes off because he starts speaking to how Kevin Hart did the same thing to him when his old podcast with Rory and Mal was falling apart. It was convenient for Kevin Hart to come out and speak this positive shit and basically criticize Joe and his leadership and how he was handling everything live, because he's the biggest comedian in the world. So,
I ain't over Kevin Hart doing that shit when I fired them niggas chiming in and saying, mind your fucking business, nigga. How about that?
You called your phone?
Yeah, on the internet, call my phone. Hey, man, you could have went out there. Yeah, I could have, nigga, but guess what? I didn't.
Don't do that.
I'm dead ass.
That's not true.
Mind your fucking business,
No,
man.
nigga,
The fuck out of here.
you are his business.
Fuck out of here.
You are his business.
I don't know who you're talking
yes,
to.
you are.
No, I ain't.
You are.
No, I ain't.
I disagree.
How do you figure?
Because we are a community and we are a village, and if somebody sees somebody that's under me that I like and I fuck with, and I see you going the wrong path,
I don't roll like that. I ain't heard
finish.
Kevin Hart say, mind your fucking business.
There you go.
Mind your fucking business. You don't pop up no other time. You don't pop up when shit is going good. And that's my man. I ain't got no beef with him. But nigga, when I'm handling turbulence, mind your fucking business, nigga.
he's coming off, failing his last few specials, and now all of a sudden he's speaking on Joe. He's never spoke on Joe before. So, Joe just felt like, you guys are using this conveniently. Now, Joe and Nish, they seem to have this thought that Kevin Hart was doing this because he's, speaking to positivity, and he's speaking to, like, black men in entertainment shouldn't be cutting each other down the way that Joe did when he fired Rory and Mal. But I'm here to say that's bullshit. That's not why this all happened. That was not the reason why Kevin Hart did that. I'll tell you the real reason.
What was the reason? I just explained the reason. What was the reason, bitch?
So, like I say every time, I've been watching this podcast for years, so that attack may seem like it came out of the blue, but it didn't. It actually takes place about 4 or 5 years ago. Much simpler times. Joe, Rory, Parks, Mal, they was all still together. They was going strong. They was the best hip-hop podcast out, period. It was April 8th, 2019. Joe and the gang, basically they had a pod, and they were giving a review on Kevin Hart's new special called Irresponsible.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Now, I will say this is not the first time that Joe and the gang basically have criticized Kevin Hart's material, but it's all kind of been in the same vein. Basically, they all feel like, although Kevin Hart is the most successful comic, he has dumbed down, he has just completely watered down his material so he can reach a much more massive audience. And it's just cookie cutter.
What I'm saying is some of the jokes, like, as I was watching it, my issue was the cookie cutter fucking jokes. Like, I don't want to hear about your kids anymore. I don't want to hear you do a 10-minute bit about your kids cursing and who won the curse out. I don't want to hear the 10-minute bit. The whole first 45 minutes was about his family and his kids. For me, I hate it. I don't hate that shit. Not funny to me. But when you're that big, when you're of that magnitude, and you're selling out that size theater in London, and when you're filming your special in London, like, you didn't go to New York or something. You went to London. Where? And when they're giving me the quick edits of the crowd and their faces after the jokes that I deem to be like a little cookie cutter, I'm just, this ain't raw.
It's like, it's safe. It's just too safe. Kevin Hart went from having like a three special run where he was like the top comedian at that time to basically becoming the Drake of comedy. And that's not like a slight at Drake, but it is to say that when they were at their lowest, or when they were at their roots, they were at their best. But then they started to super serve a mass audience, and they started trying to get into different demographics, and the content just wasn't as good. It's not a slight, because they will become the richest by doing this, but you can see the artistic integrity is no longer there. It's reasons like this you'll never see Kevin Hart or like a Drake take a hard stance on anything controversial.
You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious?
They're always trying to be seen in the best light. Now, of course, life happens. You know, you're going to see certain things as they're living life in the public eye. But yeah, it's just going to be different. They're going to be, or attempt to be, as clean as possible. And it just doesn't make for great creativity at a certain point. So now we fast forward to November 17th, 2020. Kevin Hart, he puts out his new special called Zero Fucks Given.
Boo this man!
And you got to remember, at this time, like, there's a massive international lockdown, if you know what I mean. Like, nobody can come outside. And, you know, Kevin Hart, he was trying to be creative. He was like, I'm just going to do a comedy special from my house with my loved ones, with my friends and family. Like, he packed out his living room, and he gave it to the world. And just like the other special, he dropped a fat dud. Like, the shit was just too cookie cutter. It was just too safe. Now it's starting to get out. Like, now everybody's starting to feel like, damn, he is too safe. Maybe he's not that good anymore because he's rich, he's famous, he's a blockbuster movie star. Like, maybe he just don't got it no more. Or maybe he can't have it no more because if he goes back to his roots, it won't be as appealing to the masses anymore. So it's starting to get out there. Like, people are on all kind of social platforms and they're shitting on his project. And he didn't really like that. And the irony behind it is it's called Zero Fucks Given, and he gave all the fucks. And so he decided, I'm going to go on Clubhouse and I'm going to defend myself. Because in Clubhouse, they had a whole room dedicated to, is Kevin Hart funny anymore? Of course, he took offense to that. So he pulled up and he was kind of going back and forth with the fans because he felt like that shit was kind of uncalled for. He feels like he's being questioned as an artist. And he was, because he was putting out bad art. Like, that's just what it is. The fans had spoken. So, in typical Joe fashion, he takes what he hears from Clubhouse and he brings it to the pod. And he kind of goes in, but he's really just saying the same thing that he's been saying, that this shit is just so watered down. It's not good anymore. Like, the product, the dope is stepped on. It's not good anymore. Yeah, Joe basically echoed the same sentiments, but he also said this looks even worse because you never, as a comedian, have gone to argue with fans because they're not receiving your comedy well. You know, it's like, now it looks like a hit dog will holler type thing. So, you know, Joe kind of poked fun at it because it's like, he's been saying that Kevin Hart has lost his luster, and now I think this was the first time Kevin was really receiving it from fans, and it didn't feel great.
Is Kevin Hart funny? Yes, Kevin Hart is funny. 100%. Now, are you going to laugh? And
Has Kevin Hart been funny lately?
Even in his last Zero Fucks, it was funny moments in it. It was overall, was it like a classic stand-up? No, but it was funny moments.
Well, too many extremes. It was funny moments. Was it classic? No.
No, but
Those are two different sides of the
the question is, or the statement was, Kevin Hart isn't funny. They started a room in Clubhouse called Kevin Hart isn't funny, or is Kevin Hart funny?
But that room wasn't started out of osmosis. It was started because there's a bunch of people that watched the new stand-up and said, what the fuck is this? Including me. Now, my understanding of the business and what's going on is different, so I've been stopped judging Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart is way too huge, pause, for me to just keep him in the comedian box. Like, he's a businessman, he's an actor, he has transcended comedy.
Absolutely.
So I no longer judge him solely as a comedian. But if I did, nah.
So now we fast forward to May 12th, 2021. It was a historic day in hip-hop podcast history. This was the day that the JBP with Rory and Mal officially disbanded. Joe gave a clinic on how to fire an employee.
Rory, you are in breach of your contract, and from this point forward, you are fired, and you're not welcome back. Does anybody in here have a problem that I'm the person that has to say that?
No.
Mal, I'm the person that has to say that.
Told y'all,
You want some? Beat him down, beat you down. Who else wants some? Who else wants some of D-ball?
Now, who's actually right? I don't fucking know. I wasn't in there. I don't know who's lying. I ain't do the books, but this was the stance that Joe was taking. Depending on who you are and where you fall, some people thought, damn, this was a masterclass in podcasting. And then to the people on the other side, they said, whew, this was the tackiest, classless shit that Joe could have ever done. And it just amplifies his insecurities. And in the bushes lurking was Kevin Hart, who had basically been getting roasted by Joe Budden for years. He finally had the chance to say, fuck you. And boy, did he. Now, he didn't go too hard because Kevin Hart is still clean. He's still cookie cutter. But he definitely gave Joe a piece of his mind and told him how he really felt about him.
I've witnessed this man be vocal about so much on behalf of me, my career, my moves, and everything. And I don't care. I shut up. I don't give a fuck. It's what it is. You guys know I'm no stranger to negativity. I don't care about that. But I actually was a supporter of the progression of him and his podcast. From afar. I'm a fan of your growth. I'm a fan of what you're doing and the conversation behind it. That's dope. Yo, he's not doing business here. He wants to own it. He wants control. It's dope. To see you publicly shit on the guys that was with you, that's an example of poor leadership. That's an example of why you are where you are. This is why. Here's the answer. Point blank. You want to be by yourself. You want to be King Dingaling. Oh. You can't do that.
Kevin would go in on Joe's selfishness, his lack of couth, and basically he said it. He said, this happened because you're not a good leader. You want to be the king, and that shit don't work in the real world. You're just not a good leader. And if you know Joe, that's his most sensitive spot right there. Like, that's how you really hurt him. Tell him he's not good at running the ship. He's gonna be hurt. And that's the real reason why Joe snapped on Kevin Hart the way he did. He took that moment from Dave Chappelle and internalized it. And that was the result of that. Now, I want to ask y'all, is Joe a hypocrite? Because, like I said, this shit goes back so far. I didn't even go as far as I could. I just went back like where my memory would take me. But Joe has had years of shitting on Kevin Hart products. Because, I mean, you know, I agree to an extent. Like, Kevin Hart has become like almost corny. Like, he's just not as raw as he used to be. But if Joe's going to talk about somebody for all them years, isn't it hypocritical for him to have this outburst when Kevin finally decides to respond? Or do you side with Joe where you say, you ain't been talking about me, so don't wait till I'm getting dogpiled on to talk about me now. You're the biggest creator or you're the biggest black creator at that moment. So, you know, don't use your massive platform to shit on me when you ain't been shitting on me. If it was consistent, it's consistent. But this was advantageous of you. If you ask me, I think Joe Budden was being a little moist right there. Like, he had a moment that was real sensitive of him because you can't throw rocks and hide your hands. I don't care what the circumstances. You can't tell somebody how to react. So if you've been shitting on me for 3 years and I wait till you're downtrodden to finally kick you, it is what it is. But what do I know? I'm just an everyday nobody. Tell me what you think in the comments, like and subscribe. And if you like this video, do me a favor. Go check out the other stuff I got. Like, I'm still cooking. You know, I'm still fairly new to this, but I'm going to try to pump them out a little more. But shit, go check out the other stuff. I promise. If it's not going to be nothing else, it's going to be thorough. I'm going to do my research and I'm going to give you everything I know because I've been watching all this shit for so long and I was just like, damn, I feel like the whole story ain't being told. So, you know, check out my other shit and I'll be back soon.